Welcome to the What's the BPM podcast, Mr. Paul Glazby.
Usually about 156.
Yeah, there you go. Podcast done, finished. Mate, I can't believe I'm sitting on the Gold Coast talking to Paul Glazby.
Think how it feels for me.
Yeah, yeah, I guess we're going to get to that as we get through the podcast. But yeah, I can't remember how, but I somehow I heard from someone that maybe you were living in Australia. I thought I'll do a bit of research, and I Googled, and then a real estate agent came up down the Gold Coast, and I thought that can't be Paul Glazby. And then I checked the photo, I was like, does look like him.
Yeah.
Anyway, made a phone call, and here we are.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mate. I've been loving your podcast, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I really like the. I've watched both of them, but I really like the recent E&M one.
Yes.
He seems like a real character, eh?
A character, that would be an understatement. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had some requests. People want me and Ian to just have our own show, just like the
Every week.
E&M podcast.
Every week. Oh, mate, I bet he's got some stories to tell.
Yeah. Well, literally, like the first time he came on, and then the next day he messaged me and said, "Can I come on again? Because there's things I forgot to say." And then we did the second one, which just came out. So we did that maybe 3 weeks ago. And the next day he's like, "Can we do a part 3? Because there's some other stuff I want to talk about." So,
Awesome.
yeah. It was nice because we said that we timed the episode so that we like recorded it a week before, and then we put it out the week where he was doing his Tidy Tracks gig on the Saturday.
Yeah.
It was like, the episode came out on the Tuesday, and then that weekend he did his last.
How did that go, do you know?
Apparently really well, yeah. So and someone sent me some clips. There was a couple of my tunes that he played in his concert, so that's nice.
Unreal. Yeah. Mate, this is usually a podcast about the history of the Australian scene, but seeing as you're in Australia, superstar DJ from way back, it'd be a missed opportunity not to have a chat to you. So I guess let's talk about your history. How did you find dance music? Was you a raver?
I was a heavy metal fan. I still am.
Heavy metal?
Heavy metal, yeah.
What bands?
Metallica, Pantera, Machine Head, Slipknot.
Oh, wow. Proper.
Yeah. So that was so when I was like, I was always into music, and that was due to my mom. I've always said my dad, if he never heard another song for the rest of his life, I don't think he'd care. But my mom was massive into music, and she had boxes and boxes of these 7-inch singles. And I used to, but I was like everything from Carpenters to ABBA to Tom Jones to the Foundations to, the Beatles. And it was all like
a bit of everything.
A bit of everything, yeah. So, but I always used to play the records. And then when I was like, funnily enough, the second 7-inch single I ever bought was, I would have been like probably 9 or 10 years old, was Jive Bunny, which is one half of the Tidy Boys.
Really? I never knew that.
Yeah. So Andy
Jive Bunny
was, so the Andy Pickles,
Tidy Boys,
the tall one.
Yeah,
he was Jive Bunny.
No way.
Yeah. So then at 9 or 10 years old, I was buying Jive Bunny, and then 12 years later, putting an album out with him. We did the Tidy Boys and Paul Glazby, like the Insomnia. It's crazy how life works out. But yeah, so my mom was a massive musical influence. And then when I think I was probably 11 or 12, and the Bon Jovi song, Blaze of Glory, that was from Young Guns 2, the movie, that came out, and I just got obsessed with that song. And then literally within a few weeks, I sort of found Guns N' Roses. And then a few weeks later, it was Metallica, and then that was it. I was just, that was I just kind of found
those early Metallica albums were just like, it was a type of music that we'd never heard before. Hey, like
insane,
guitars making those sort of sounds and that, it was nuts.
But it's like when you listen back to that early, I guess mid-90s, the stuff that TDV was playing and making eventually, and Baby Doc, and like the sounds that they were using in what became hard house or hard dance, whatever you want to call it, is similar type of thing, like those noises, like what the fuck, I've never, and so similar type of. But I was listening, I had Metallica on in the gym the other day, and the young kid that I work with, he's 20, 22, 23, I think now. So the albums have been out for 15 years before he was born. But like he knows the songs now by training in the gym with me. He's like got to learn, because I just play it all the time. But I was saying to him the other day, these guys were like 22 years old when they made this.
Yeah. Nuts, though.
It's like, yeah, just you can't fathom it. But
Even in high school, though, I went through a stage where I got into Guns N' Roses,
mm,
and then a bit of Pearl Jam, and
yeah,
then Pantera,
yep,
and I loved all that stuff. And then one thing led to another, and I got into like listening to like hardcore, like
right,
techno,
right,
and that's kind of how I got into it.
yeah, yeah.
But is that like
So what happened for me was because I used to box. So during my teens, I very rarely went out anywhere or
disciplined athlete
yeah,
type of
basically,
thing?
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all I was bothered about. And then when I was 19, I packed that in, and then I, we went out into town one night, and a, 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 this his name's Guy. So I always feel weird saying it. This guy, he I used to go to college with him. I did this like day release from. I was on like a work experience, not work experience, like an apprenticeship thing.
At
And
school and then doing one day
well,
at
I
work.
went so I did work experience from school at a printers, and then they offered me a job in my school holidays for the last 2 years of my school. And then literally, I finished school and started work with them a few days later. And then they put me on this apprenticeship, and one day a week I went to college, which was a waste of time because it was like a general printing qualification, and I was doing quite specific stuff. So they were teaching t-shirt printing, and I'm printing business cards and letterheads. So it
Okay.
didn't make any sense. So that didn't last long. But I met Guy there, and he was quite a bit older. He was 20, I think he was 29, and I would have been 16. And he was there to learn how to do t-shirts because he used to make bootleg t-shirts and sell them. So if Metallica came to the local,
Making fake shirts.
yeah, when Metallica or Machine Head or whoever came to town, he'd be out there selling these t-shirts that he printed himself.
Yeah.
And anyway, really,
Bit of a
really,
Del boy.
yeah, yeah, covered in tattoos, bit of, like big unit. I actually caught up with him when I went back in September. I'd not seen him in 20 years, maybe more. But I just went to meet him to kind of tell him what I'm just about to tell you because I wasn't sure if he was aware of the
What happened?
impact that he'd had
Yeah.
on me. So when we were at college, he introduced me to Machine Head. That's how I even found out about Machine Head because he knew I was into Metallica. He's like, "Oh, you need to listen to these guys," and then we 3 years later we're out in town and we bump into Guy, and he said, "Oh, come to this club that I'm going to." So me and my mates were like, "Okay, we'll go." So we, just round the corner. We get round.
Sorry, whereabouts is
This
this?
is back in Sheffield.
Sheffield.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So there was a night on a Friday night called Rise, and it was like the Friday night club of the year for like 3 or 4 years on the trot in Mixmag, and it was like a
Oh,
pretty big
yeah.
deal. The queue would be down the street every week, and and there you'd have the likes of Rob Tessera and Savage, but loads of other DJs that I can't even remember the names now.
Yeah.
But the DJs that I know now, they
Top quality guys.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
great, yeah,
Yeah.
like and then Malcolm Duffy played there. I'm sure they had like Pete Wardman at some point. I think my memory's a little bit
Pete Wardman was a wicked DJ, wasn't
amazing. Yeah,
he? Yeah,
a
yeah.
real nice guy as well. But yeah, my memory from that period is a little bit hazy because that's when I was really, going out and
Hitting it
just
hard.
getting smashed. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then, but yeah, so we went out this one night, and I mean, can we speak freely on here?
Say what you
Yeah,
want.
yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'd smoked a bit of weed, but that was it.
Yeah.
We went out there. Me and my friend Scott shared a rapper speed, and then that was it. We were just like every week. I'm like, I'm going back. I'm
Yeah.
going back, and we all went back every week for like 4 or 5 weeks
To rise.
to Rise.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
and
no boxing.
boxing was done. Yeah, yeah. And we went to. It got to like the 5th week, and I'm like, what time we're leaving? And my mates were like, "Oh, we're gonna have a week off." I'm like, "Fuck that, I'm going." So I just went on my own. And then I ended up meeting other people there that kind of took me under the wing. And
Like you do when you're out
yeah, exactly.
clubbing and that. Yeah.
A friend of mine, Tim, who he'll be coming on my podcast later this year, but he was pretty integral to the whole journey that I went on because he was the guy that he was like the best DJ in that group of people,
Yep.
and everyone thought that he was going to be the next big thing.
Was he playing in clubs and stuff?
We was like him and some other mates who I then became friends with were like putting their own nights on and stuff and doing that. And he did.
Yep.
He played in Canada. and did a few gigs around, but the problem was that he had like confidence issues. So then he'd get wrecked.
Bit of anxiety or something, maybe. Yeah,
exactly. So he'd get smashed, play, but obviously not play anywhere
not
near
to
as
his
good.
abilities.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what sort of,
yeah,
it was criminal, really. And I was in that group, and I was, sort of learning to mix, and then I started playing, just doing a little 10-minute set here or half an hour there, and then I'd sort of get my name on the flyer. And but I had a night in um in Sheffield. I'm doing a gig called Glazby Time when I go back in November, and the club that I'm about to talk about is where I'm doing Glazby Time, which is going to be 20, I don't know, probably 27, 28 years since this, what I'm just about to say. So basically, a friend of ours, Andy Usher, was doing a night at the Archers, and he booked E&M. And I had to play after E&M, right?
At the Archers.
At the Archers in Sheffield, yeah.
I've heard of that place. That's like a legendary.
There's an Archers I think it's in Glasgow. That's
I might be getting that confused. Yeah, okay.
But in Sheffield, like the Archers,
still
like,
awesome. Yeah.
I mean, it's not like a nice club, but it's.
So how old are you then?
20.
So you'd only done a handful of gigs, and then you're going on after E&M.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
And
bricking it.
Earlier on in the night, someone had said, "Oh, I have half of this," and I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, it's all right. I'm not playing until 3. I'll be all right."
Yeah.
But then it's getting to like 2, 2:30, 2:45, and I'm thinking, "No, I'm not all right." Like, and
shit.
So I went on, played after Ian, struggled through this 2-hour set or hour, whatever I played, and that night is when I'm like, "Right, I'm not doing this anymore. If I'm going to
take it seriously,
I'm going to take it serious. Yeah, I don't want, because I could see what was happening to Tim.
Yeah,
beat people, like he'd be saying, "Oh, I've just had a wicked set," and then be people behind him going,
yeah.
I'm like, fuck that.
Funny, Tall Paul said that to me. He said, you need some people around you that are going to say, "Listen, mate, you're starting to slip up a bit."
Yeah.
So because everyone just keeps saying, "Oh yeah, man, that was wicked," Yeah. But he said you need someone to pull you aside and say, "You're getting a bit out of control."
Yeah. It's like the joke, isn't it? How many DJs does it take to screw in a light bulb? 100, one to do it, and 99 to stand around going, "Oh, that's fucking amazing."
Yeah, that's true, though, isn't
exactly.
It's so true.
So yeah, I mean, it was. I always I don't feel sorry for Tim because he's gone on to have an amazing life and he's great at what he does. But yeah, like he was like my canary in the coal mine sort of thing. Like if he'd not. But having said that, if he'd not been there doing what he was doing, I wouldn't have probably done what I did anyway in terms of even wanting to get into DJing.
Yeah.
Like it's all these what ifs but yeah, seeing that's what snapped me out of it. So I did like all my hardcore partying, 19, 20, maybe 21. By the time
it's probably why you're still in such good nick now.
Maybe.
Like, you go on too long with that shit. I had a career in combat sports as well.
Right.
And I always say to people, fighting and partying are very similar. Get in, have some fun, get out before you get
brain damage.
It's the same, eh? Like, get in, have some fun, have a dance, and then get out before you end up bloody slurring your words and your brain dead.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of how I got into dance music. It wasn't the hard house that I'm known for. That's not what the clubbing thing. I never really went clubbing to that because by the time I'd got into, I'd like developed my own sound. Like I was out of clubbing by then. It was like a weird thing. It's like once I learned to DJ, I didn't want to be a clubber anymore.
Yeah.
It was
become more of a professional.
Yeah,
in the
I want
scene.
to just be on the other side of the decks, and my whole career as well. I mean, once you get busy as a DJ, you can't be hanging around in a club for hours on end. But even when I had the time, I didn't do it. Like I would just turn up, play, and
get out of there.
Yeah.
You end up getting dragged back to after parties and.
Well, that's the thing, yeah. And it was funny because have you heard of Jez and Charlie? Do you know they are? They were like an act when we were all young. They were so Tidy Management when that started. There was me, Lee Haslam, Mark Gray, Jez and Charlie. I'm sure there's someone else around, but we were all these like early 20s. just breaking through, and then I'd got Insomniacs behind me, and Jez and Charlie were playing. They got a club in Leeds that they'd play out. They were residents for. So we all had like a bit going on, but then Tidy Tracks kind of brought us all together, and then we started getting opportunities that we probably wouldn't have
Tidy
had.
Tracks like looking for new talent.
Well, they
at that
started
time.
Tidy Management, yeah. So they started a roster, and then started doing so things like the first ever gig I did in South Africa. They were doing a Tidy Tracks night, and each month one of us would fly over and do
I think
gig in Cape Town.
When I was like researching for this, I'm sure I saw an interview with you with someone from South Africa.
Jason Rinquest, yeah.
And you'd been going back and forth a few times. Like you said, it was probably your favorite gig ever.
Yeah, Studio 47 in Cape Town.
Studio
the
47.
first time I played there, yeah. That and a gig in Adelaide.
In Adelaide?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
that's cool. I love hearing that about, the Australian scene. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, we had a tour. In fact, because I said earlier, I'm interviewing Ingo later, and he was on that tour with me. So me and Ingo went over as the Tidy Tracks representatives on a Gatecrasher tour. So you had Scott Bond and Mario Pugh.
Yeah, I remember them.
We did the Gatecrasher room, and then there was a Tidy Tracks room. So we did Perth, Melbourne, Adelaide, Auckland, Sydney, Brisbane. So we had 2 gigs on the first weekend and then 4 gigs on the second weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh,
and we thought that the Thursday being Adelaide and the Sunday being Brisbane, we were like, oh, they're going to be shit. Like, can't wait to get to Sydney. Sydney will be amazing.
Yeah.
Sydney was, not great.
Where was that? Do you know?
It was at like some big sports, sports conventions.
So not a nightclub or anything.
No. And I think they thought it was going to be bigger than it was because they'd had to like close off, like they'd second off because they were
huge hall and cut it in half.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was all right, but it was one of those things like there was no roof or the roof was super high, so there was no atmosphere. Whereas the
bloody
Adelaide on the Thursday, Adelaide on the Thursday, and the Brisbane on the Sunday. Literally, the crowd, the front row.
Where was the Brisbane gig? Do you remember?
I remember. I mean, it's 25 years ago.
Like the arena, maybe. I don't know.
But I just remember us being on a stage and there were, people as close as you.
Just going
off, yeah.
Yeah.
So, so that was good. And then the Friday night in Adelaide, in Auckland was really good as well. But yeah, they were all good gigs. None of them were bad, but the 2 standout gigs were the more intimate ones, which were Adelaide and Brisbane.
Sure.
But yeah, Ingo was on that tour with me.
Sorry, just going back a bit. So when you said you were going out to Rise, and you said it was kind of a different sound to what you ended up making, like what sort of music were they playing?
More like house music. You remember like all stuff. The song I can always remember is, you remember that Tori Amos, that Professional Winner?
Oh yeah.
It was all that kind of stuff.
Oh, so it's not hard, not full on hard.
Not hard, no. But then what would happen is we'd go back to Tim that I was talking about. Yep. He invited me back to his flat for the crack on. Everybody used to go back there. So I get to this flat and there's literally like 50 people in this 2-bedroom flat.
Yeah.
And then there's decks set up and everybody was getting up and, like having a go. And to me, because I used to listen to mix CDs and I couldn't tell where one track started. It just sounded like one long track to me.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell where they started and finished. And I mean, I listen to them now. I'm like, yeah, okay.
I was exactly the same. I thought they were making all the sounds.
Yeah.
Like with the knobs and stuff. I didn't know what was going on.
So but we'd be back at these after parties and then people were putting CDs on, like the Trade 4, Trade 3, Turner de V live in Tel Aviv, Turner de V live in Turkey. I think that maybe came out the year after. But we were just listening to those, just over and over and over. And then
so that Global Underground CD is so good.
That's what?
A Global Underground CD was so good.
Yeah. But I think it's like when you first get that, if you're into it and you get exposed to it, well, you only find out you're into it once you get exposed to it. But it's just that combination of like because the stuff I play and listen, the kicks are more prominent, it's heavier.
Yeah.
The bass lines are, deeper, more driving. The BPM's different, and it's like once it gets you, you're like that. That's what I'm into, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But then we didn't have an outlet for it. We didn't have a way to, other than listening to those CDs. That was it. But then, and then we used to hear about trade, but you know, being lads from Sheffield, we were like, oh no, we can't go to trade. We'll get
How
raped.
far away is that? Oh, because
That
it was
was
a
that.
gay night.
Yeah, but obviously, you know, in
Yeah,
hindsight, we're like, what the fuck were we
in the
thinking?
90s, everyone was paranoid about
Yeah,
those
like
things.
we were just like the thought of going to London to this gay club, and you know, like in hindsight, you know,
It would have
that's
been,
not what it was like. Anyway,
would
it was a
have been
real
awesome.
mixture
Yeah.
of people, like Tall Paul was saying
Yeah,
on your
yeah.
podcast. And the but yeah, so we were like, oh, we can't go to trade, but then Sunday Essential were doing their bank holiday events, and then Andy, who was one of the guys that was putting nights on in Sheffield, he then started organising coach trips, and we'd go
Oh, yeah.
to these Sunday Essential events, and that's where we would get to see, you know,
Tony
Steve
DeVee,
Thomas,
all
Tony
that, yeah.
DeVee. You know, you'd have some stuff like Sonique, which you know, I was never really into her stuff, singing and shit on the while she's DJing, but you know, all those DJs that would give us that, you know, what we'd been looking
I
for.
just told of that story that E&M told, sorry, about
Oh,
Tony.
oh, Sonic, yeah. And then so yeah, so then we started doing that. But as we're doing that, that's when I'd bought my decks and I was learning to mix, and I'm buying records, but I was buying records in secret. My friends didn't know I was doing it because I didn't want anyone knowing cause I didn't want someone going, oh, well, show us then. Like, you know,
Yeah, yeah. When you're learning.
I just kept
Yeah.
practicing. And then one day I was like, can I have a go? And they were like, yeah, of course you can. And I just did it. And everyone's like, what the fuck is this? You know? So
Shit.
yeah. And then that's just went from there. And that period there is where, you know, not long after, whereas everyone had been saying Tim Tom's the next big thing. And then a few people were like, well, have you heard Glaz's new mixtape? And then I just kept churning out these mixtapes and then went to CDs. And in fact, a girl messaged me on Instagram just yesterday and said, oh, I found this. And I think it says Paul Glazby dance mix. And on the inside, she sent me like a photograph. She opened it up, and inside it says D Banner and a phone number. Well, Darren Banner was a kid I used to work with when I worked at the printers. So he would have done the design for the cassette, not even a CD, a cassette cover. That must be the first.
God, you got to get a copy.
I know.
Of that.
I said to her, like,
yeah.
if you can, she said she's going to bring it to when I do Glazby time in November. She's going to bring it for me to sign. But yeah,
need to rip it somehow.
I know. So, wow. But yeah, there's a few of my like old mixes from like 99 to 2000 that people have said that they've got. So yeah, hopefully if we can get those, I'll start them, you know, just upload them to SoundCloud or something and get them out there.
So did you get to see Tony DeVee play live?
2 times, yeah.
Oh, man, because I was living in England in 98, 99, and I remember we were going to go and see him. I can't remember where. I think in a local club near it. We lived in Maidstone, and I was at work and it came over the radio that he died. We were all just so shocked.
I remember where I was when he died. Yeah.
Yeah, I was at work. It's funny.
And Andy Usher that I mentioned, his girlfriend, Katie, we were sat like in her parents' like outdoor sort of, you know, like back garden.
Conservatory thing. Yeah,
like, sort of thing. And yeah, nuts. But yeah, I saw him a couple of times at Gatecrasher in Sheffield, which is the only time I'd go to Gatecrasher if he was on. And then Sunday Essential a couple of times. That might have been it. Maybe only 4 times, yeah.
And you went to trade though?
I never went to trade. No.
Oh, you didn't?
No, no, no.
Okay.
No,
yeah.
Just never happened.
So you start getting booked for DJ gigs. I mean, I've listened to you talk about this on other podcasts, and you kind of just like brush over and go, oh yeah, I got booked here, and then another one. But you must have had some talent, because you don't just, like, it's one thing to be able to mix records, but then to mix records and rock the dance floor, it's not easy. It's easier nowadays, but back then, much harder thing to do.
Well, a friend of mine, Ben, he always used to go, he used to say that he used to call my style of mixing power mixing. Because what a lot of people used to do back then, and I had this conversation with someone actually the other day. If you listen to, and I don't know why he did it like this. I don't know if it was maybe, I don't know, I've no idea. But like if you listen to the Global Underground, the first one, the Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
and compare that to the Tokyo one, there's no energy in the mixing that he's doing. Like he goes to lots of dead beats, you know, where he's just mixing the very beginning to very end, and that's what a lot of people would mix like. I remember being at Insomniacs when I first started
Make
there.
It sound better, yeah.
And just now there is a time and a place for doing that where you let the bass completely drop out. So when the next bass line comes in, it's like, but you don't do it all the time.
Yeah.
Like it, and so I had this where I never liked to have a with no bass, and I'll layer the basses up. So whereas some people might, you know, like I'm trying to think how to explain this so people can hear what visualize what I'm saying. But like if you wait until there's 2 minutes left in the track, and then you mix in here, and you're mixing right to the end of that track, so you're mixing the first 2 minutes of that track into the last 2 minutes of that track, and typically the bass will drop out, you know, after a minute. So you're probably going to get the crossover point, you know, like you've got a minute before the bass comes in on this one, and then so you'll get that crossover. But a lot of people wouldn't even do that. They'd be mixing even later than that, whereas I'd mix like for 3 minutes. So the bass on this one will be in for a minute over the top of that one. But as long as you're using your EQs, then, you know, like you can balance it out, and you've got to kind of know your tracks.
Because your pitch is spot on.
Well, that as well. Yeah. So yeah, I don't really know what I did that was different. I don't know why people like I've always said, I've never thought, oh, I wonder if they'll like this, or this will go down well. I just go, yeah, I like that, and I just put it on, and I mix it where I want to mix it, and then people just started liking what I did.
Shit,
it wasn't like I wasn't chasing. I mean, obviously, you always want to be good at what you do and appeal to people. You don't want everyone to think you shit. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
But it was never like I'll do this because I think people will like it. I was like, this makes sense to me, and I just did what I did, and like
maybe that's
I was just
why.
lucky.
Maybe that's why.
Well, maybe
just not chasing trends.
But I think as well, because like the people that I used to, when I got into it, I would go and see E&M or Tony DeVee or Steve Thomas, Pete Wardman, and I'd like sort of watch what these guys were doing, and I'd watch their hands, and I'd listen, and I'd try and work out, you know, like, okay, they're doing that with the, you know, they're taking the bass out there. I'd be like watching where the EQs were at a certain point, and so I'd kind of learn from what I was.
Yeah,
I was just trying to decipher it all, you know, like as I was, and then obviously I'd just practice at home. I was talking to Ben Stevens actually just last week, and I can't remember why we were talking about, but he was saying about how in this mix, and he'd like switch the bass, but I'm like, oh no, for me, I'd have it.
Leave it up.
Yeah, I'd have the bass on that one. I'd have at 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
and that one would be at 12, so they'd be still running
together.
And he's like, oh, I would have had that one completely off and that one on, which is going to have a different sound in the club. You know, like it's a different effect. So, but I mean, Ben's fucking amazing at what he does as well. So, you know, I'm not saying my thing's right and his wrong.
Just
I'm
different
just saying
styles.
there's different ways to do it, and it just gives you a different.
You know what? One thing, E&M in your podcast like briefly talked about this, but like those like kind of first generation DJs. I used to just love how they would just mix, but they would, you know, they weren't jumping around like, you know,
and that's why for me, that's
I just love watching that, especially when the crowd was going mental right in front of them and they just barely reacted. Like it just looked so cool. Yeah. Whereas now they're like jumping up on the table and shit. I'm like, oh.
And that's so like when my career took off, which was early 2000, that's when you'd got, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but like you'd got the Tidy Boys especially, you know, like Ammo would be mixing, and then Andy would be like standing up on the thing, or I guess a few years later you got the likes of Andy Whitby, Lashes, you know, she was always quite flamboyant.
Yeah.
But for me, you know, like that wasn't what I'd been watching for the last 2 or 3 years with these other guys, where it was all about, you know, like just pretend you mix it in your bedroom and there just happens to be 1,000 people there. You know, that was always
it's cool. I reckon that's
but
cool.
then, like in this day and age, especially now with the whole, you know, I've got back into, I've been completely removed from the dance scene for 10, 12 years, you know, like I've just not had any
that's crazy, but
input at all. I mean, I've done a few gigs here and there, but I've just turned up, played a classic set of shit from 15, 20 years ago. and then gone back to, and for a long time I said, if I never play again, I won't even think about it.
Yeah, yeah.
But if someone messaged, oh, can you come and play at such and such? I'm like, yeah, I can do that. I get requests of things. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm busy. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be doing everything.
Yeah.
But then just this last 12 months, for whatever reason, I think just the nostalgia of doing the podcast and chatting to all the mates and then doing a track and that going well. And then what I found is having the creative outlet of making music again, it's actually making me more productive in my sort of day-to-day work as well. Well, that's going really well as well. You know, and it's not like there's any conflict because all my, you know, not all, but probably 90% of my Instagram followers, for example, will be in the UK. So all the interactions I'm having with them are sort of after I finish work until I go to bed. And then if I do a studio session, well, that is starts at 6 and finishes
after work as well.
It's after work. You know, it's not getting it in the day, but it's like just having the creative outlet seems to be so far. It's actually been it's making me more productive rather than
that's awesome.
Getting in the way.
So what about your record label? How did that come about?
Well, that was an accident as well, really. So basically, I knew that playing the Insomniacs and doing, you know, I could play the best set anyone's ever played. Arguable whether I did or not, but I could play like the best set. But there's 1,000 people there, and they're the only people that would know about it. And they might say, "Oh, you know, saw this DJ at the weekend," and you know, and you kind of the
word gets around, yeah.
But I was like, if I really want to get my name out there, I've got to start doing. Well, so even before that, when I was doing my CDs, I didn't just do a CD and write Glazby mix, you know, September on it. I'd give them names and then the album that came out, One from the Hard Box. Well, that was actually the second one because I'd done One from the Hard Box as like just one of my mixes back in '99, where I did One from the Hard Box, I did the Hard Box Strikes Back, and I did Return of the Hard Box. So there was like the Star Wars sort of trilogy with these. I think it was blue, green, and red, or blue, red, and green. So there's 3 mixed theories, but like I'd go to the equivalent of like Office Works, Staples, I think it's called in England, and I'd print the covers, and I used to cut them with a scalpel, you know, like I might do 100 of them, and fucking around folding them, and then
like slipping them in the CD cases and that.
It was like a full, like you'd bought it from a shop.
Wow, shit.
Yeah, and I'd have I bought a machine that would print the stickers, and sometimes you'd put them on a bit cockeyed. Fuck, you got to. Like,
I had one of them too. Yeah.
So when I was DJing, if someone said, "Have you got?" You know, people come, "Have you got a mix?" I'd give them this CD, and people were like, "Oh," I get messages now. Like I said, that girl about that tape, but every few days I'll get a message, and someone say, "Oh, I've got your mix, your CD from '99."
Are they online, like most of them, or?
I'm gonna try and get them online.
Yeah.
People start
to listen to. Yeah.
So I think I always had like a bit of a marketing mind in as much as, you know, trying to get my name.
I'd say you're like forward thinking, like, because the whole producer DJ thing didn't really come till much later, but you were kind of onto that already.
Yeah. So in 2000, so by mid 2000, I'd been playing at Insomniacs for maybe 4 or 5 months, and I'm thinking, right, I've got to, because all the people I looked up to, they were making tracks as well. Like OD404, Farley had started making tracks. You know, Steve Thomas had always been putting stuff out. Ian M had started, you know, he got, you know, Annihilation and Dreamer and stuff had come out on Tidy. So I then started looking, you know, I need to find someone I can do tracks with. And that's how I got introduced to Ingo. And then he lived about an hour from where I live. So I drove out there and we did, I think the first track we ever did was Rough and Tough, which some people love it. I mean, I listen to it now and I'm like, it's not the best, but it was the first thing I ever did, you know?
Yeah.
So I did that and then did a couple of other bits. I did that Kaiser Soze Somnium Dreams bootleg.
Yeah.
Did that and then did Kick It. I can't remember the exact order. I'm pretty sure the Dreams thing was before Kick It.
So the Dreams thing was early on.
Real early on.
Shit,
yeah.
Okay.
I pressed up 500 white labels, just a white sleeve with a little sticker that said Kaiser Soze Somnium. Didn't put my name to it at all, other than in the etching, you know, around the edge of the thing. It was Glaz 01. That was the only thing that like anyone would have known it was anything to do with me. And then at the end of that year, I did the Insomniacs album, and I put it on that as well. So I think people can put the two together. So I did that. Then I did Kick It, and I still remember doing Kick It and listening to it just non-stop on the way home, you know, like because Ingo had burnt me a CD off, and I was just listening to it over and over. And I got home, and my wife at the time, Rachel, she used to have candles on, you know, like, and so it was like dark. And I remember laying on the couch and just listening to it at home, you know, and I'm like, I fucking done something. This is like,
good. Yeah.
So anyway, I started sending it out to everybody: Tidy, Nucleus, Billy Bunter, everybody. And they were like, "Oh yeah, it's all right, but it's not for us." You know, like, they probably thought it was shit and were just being polite.
Yeah.
Fuck, I'm sure it's good. Like, and then I started playing it. You know, I play it in Insomniacs, and it fucking take the roof off.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I thought, well, if no one's going to put it out, like I can't. It's got to come out, you know. And then I thought, well, what if I just have my own label? And then a friend of mine, Les, who, God bless him, he passed away about 3 or 4 months ago.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he'd put me on at a couple of gigs that he'd done. He was an older guy. He was like, when we were 22, 23, he was about 39, 40 then, you know, so he would have been 63, 64 now. But he just desperately wanted to be involved in the scene somehow, you know, like so he's like, well, I'll bankroll it. Like, let's get it going. So we got together, we did it.
Yeah.
You know, asked Farley. Farley did the second release. I'd done a couple of remixes for 12-inch thumpers at that point, and they were like, "Oh, you know, we'll just do remixes for you." They did one, but then I knew that wasn't the direction that the label needed to go in. So like, they owed me another 3 or 4 remixes. But I'm like, "It's all right, boys, don't worry about it.
We're good.
Call it quits." Yeah. Ingo did a remix. I'm pretty sure. I think Vicious Circle 2 actually was Andy Farley on the A side, and then it was, I think, 12-inch thumpers and Ingo on the B side, because I didn't want it just to be that 12-inch thumpers remix on the other side. So I'm pretty sure Ingo did the remix as well on that. And then we got tracks from UFX, got Paul King and Chris B, Pants and Corset to remix. That was number 7. I got to be really good friends with RR Fierce as well. So his track Malud was our 4th release. And we had big plans to do stuff together. Like, we'd licensed Yamamba, that was Vicious Circle 10 that came out. So we launched in December 2000 with the label. On my birthday, if I remember it right, it was on my birthday, 17th of December. And
year 2000, you must have been so young.
I was 22.
To be doing this. 22.
Well, it would have started on my 23rd birthday.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so that's what I was saying about Jez and Charlie, because Charlie, he I don't know what he does. It's he runs this like massive marketing agency and he flies like between like LA and London, and his client list is like Google and Apple and all these big tech companies that are like amazing at making products, but they've got no clue about marketing. So his company do the marketing for these massive tech companies. It's incredible. Yeah. And last time, it was years since I've seen him, but he was telling me about how they'd asked him, he's got this like, I think it's like a productivity system that he sort of created for his team. And then he was asked to do a TED talk on it. And he's like, "Oh, I'm too busy." So, you know, like, he's just like a super like high flying like executive. It's incredible.
Dealing in millions, probably. Yeah.
Multi-millions. Yeah. Right. But we're at a wedding. This is probably, I'm trying to think how long ago it'll be. At least 10 years ago. And we're at this wedding, And we'd had a few drinks, and he's like got his arm around me. He's like, Glaz, we always used to look up to you because we'd be just like getting smashed on a Sunday, and you just go home because you were getting up the next morning because you were running your record label. And I had no idea that that's what they were thinking. Like I
Yeah,
was just doing what I was doing. Like
that's
but then
cool.
but then I'm like thinking, you were impressed by me. Fucking look at you now. Like
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm
I
not looking
felt
up to you.
stupid. Um, but yeah, again, I didn't really think about what anyone else was doing, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah,
I remember Les, like one time, he's like, "Oh, Tidy are doing this and they're doing this." I'm like, "Mate, forget what they're doing. Like,
yeah,
we're
yeah,
not Tidy.
yeah.
We're not. We're a different sound. We're like, let's just focus on what we're doing. Let's just do whatever we're doing as well as we can." That said, on reflection, 20 years later, I realized that being around Tidy and being involved with those guys so heavily, even though I never wanted Vicious Circle to be like Tidy, I almost wanted Vicious Circle to be like and not antidote, it's not the right word, but like the antithesis, is that the right word? Like
Go beyond me.
the kind of like the opposite of Tidy,
Yeah,
whereas Tidy was the more sort of bouncy commercial
yeah.
sort of thing and fun and that, whereas Vicious Circle was like
Bit more serious.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, it
like
was really, wasn't it?
well,
Yeah,
yeah, and by
yeah,
design, it was like the grittier older brother with a, bit of a mental
yeah.
health issue kind of thing. That was that. That's what Vicious Circle was supposed to.
Even the like logo's pretty wicked. It's a power saw blade.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
whose idea was that?
Well, so that Darren Banner that I told you about, that did my cassette
Yeah, yeah,
thing, yeah, yeah. So he did the very original Vicious Circle logo, which was kind of different but the shape was so what you see now with the saw blades, that is the outline of the original logo. If you look at the first 5 releases, it was an actual um circular saw blade. I think it was my dad's. I think we photographed it.
yeah.
It was an actual circular saw blade that we had, and then the sort of writing was off to the side. But then I think by the time we got to release number 6, so it was Scott Cooper who I've been mates with him since we were kids, and he used to drive me to gigs, and then he became the label manager, and he'd gone to college with some other kids doing graphic design, and then they got involved and kind of like tightened the brand up
Cool.
quite a bit. If you look back at, I think when we got to certainly Hostile, which was Vicious Circle 20, that era of the record sleeves were like pretty artistic back then. Like these guys, they'd go around and photograph different sort of parts. It might be like an old warehouse uh, or a factory or something, but they'd like get these photos and then kind of just mess them around with them a
Yeah.
bit. But they look quite edgy and
Cool. Yeah.
yeah. So it kind of developed over time, and then the swirl thing that's in the middle of the logo, that's actually like well, it's not from a Pepsi can, but they did it.
Similar thing.
Yeah, because what they said is at the time they were like, when people see it, subconsciously they identify with it because they're used to seeing that
Yeah, yeah.
thing, and that's so they like did
Clever. Yeah.
and added that in as like and it must have worked because I
Yeah.
remember we did a gig in Sheffield at the Adelphi. It was the first event we put on. I think it was like the Vicious Circle. I don't know. Maybe it was this second birthday or third birthday or something. We'd not been around that long. And we went to see this guy. So bear in mind, we're like 24 years old, and we go to this guy who was probably in his 40s, and we're in his office. I remember he said, because we'd done a proposal of, like we want to hire the gig, the venue for this gig, and this is how many people we'll get, and blah blah blah. And I remember him saying, "Why are people going to come?" And I like stood up and pointed because it was on our letterhead, this thing, and I just pointed at the logo, and he looked at me. I'm like, "That's why people will come because of the brand."
Yeah.
And then he went, "Okay, well, let's see," and then we fucking packed it out.
Shit.
Yeah, because people fucking loved it. Like
Yeah.
there's people that have got the Vicious Circle tattoo.
Yeah. Like I was gonna say, like
tattooed on them.
at that time in Brisbane,
Mm.
I was record shopping all the time and they were everywhere.
Yeah.
Like everyone was playing your music. Like if you went to the raves, you heard it. Went to the record shops, you heard it. Like at that time, that sort of early 2000s to I don't know what, like 2004, something like that. It was just massive,
Yeah.
huge. So you would have been touring all over the world in that period.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, so I started Insomniacs in January 2000. By October, I did my first international gig. I went to Canada and played over there
In the year 2000.
in that year. So I started in January, did my first international gig in the October. Amadeus Mozart posted actually yesterday or the day before that it was the 25th anniversary of the Insomnia album. So I'd had an album out on Tidy Tracks. Like full credit to Tidy for like giving me the the
Yeah.
reason I got the chance is because the album was supposed to be Insomniacs. They were partnering up with Tom from Insomniacs to do the Insomniacs album, and Tom had said, "Oh well, I want
I
Paul,
want, yeah, yeah.
my resident, doing the
Yep.
one of the discs," and they'd agreed to that. But then something happened between, I don't know whether it was Tom wanted, you know, more than they were willing to pay, or I don't know what happened. I honestly don't know what happened. Tidy Tracks said that which this could be true. They decided not to do it as an Insomniacs album because they wanted the Insomnia album to be a like a series that went on for years, which it has.
Yeah.
But they weren't sure. They were like, if Insomniacs goes tits up or something happened, something dreadful, like someone dies at the club and then it gets tainted,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like. So I think they decided to just, you know, change it to Insomnia. And I remember the day I got a call. Tom rang me and went, "Mate, the album's not
Oh,
happening."
gutted.
And I'm like, "Fuck." And then Andy Pickles rang me and he's like, "Oh, I just want to let you know." I said, "Mate, I know, Tom's told me it's not happening." He went, "Yeah, yeah, but we still want you to do it." And I was like, "What?" So I and fair play to, because Tom could have gone, "Mate, I don't, if we're not doing it, I don't want you doing it." But Tom
Yeah.
was never like that. He was like, "If it's good for you, then just do
Yeah.
it." So
So do you mix that in a studio or just at home or?
well, yes, but then they wanted they because a lot of the albums that came out around that time were like digitally
Yeah,
mixed,
yeah.
and they didn't want the sound quality to not stand up against, which I argued at the time, like, if we mix it properly, the sound quality will be
Sound good.
fine.
Yeah.
But we had to recreate, so we did it mix for mix, but then digitally mixed. But if you listen to One from the Hard Box, which or any Vicious Circle album that we've done, but One from the Hard Box is probably the best example, which I did the year after and mixed it in my back bedroom.
Sounds just as good,
I
if
think it
not
sounds
better.
better
Yeah, yeah.
because a lot of that digital mixing, you get the phasing and the popping, and like it's. If you play One from the Hard Box side by side with the Insomnia album, my mix of each in One
Yeah.
from the Hard Box sounds
I used
loads
to
better.
love that sound in the like hard house mixing where it kind of like the beat kind of like ooh,
Yeah, yeah,
and
the
it's
phasing,
drifting
yeah, yeah.
over. Oh,
I used to do a thing with Paul King tracks where I'd buy two copies and then I'd mix in, do the bass switch. A lot of the Paul King tracks, they'd have like a little drop at the start. So I'd whip that track up, put that one on, drop it in as it kicks back in, drop them in, and then run them together up to the break at exactly the same point. So you'd get the like
yeah,
they'd be
yeah,
doing that.
awesome.
This is before
Yeah,
now. You just put on the mixer, you just do phaser or
uh,
flange.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
just back then you didn't have those things. So yeah, so I used to do that, and people would come up, do that thing with the thing. But yeah, so that was Insomniacs January, uh, an album out end of September, international gig October, launch Vicious Circle in December, and I got 3 or 4 tracks that I'd done in that time. So then going into 2001, um, yeah, like I was like a household name. It was nuts. Like I
Yeah, because
just
like I just assumed you'd been around for like 10 years.
no.
Like I had no idea you were that young. Like,
Well,
because you were just up at the top of the list with like, people like, well, Tony DeVee, not at the time, but all those kind of guys, you were always there. And I was like, oh, sure, it must have been around forever.
yeah, no, it just happened real quick.
Incredible.
But yeah, but like I just I never even thought about this until it wasn't that long ago. It was maybe a couple of years ago, and I was thinking, like my mate Scott, for example, who we'd just been knocking around as teenagers, and then like at 19, then 20, 21, and then at 22, all of a sudden, I'm just fucking.
Yeah.
And he was with me for a lot of it, but like if it had been the other way around, and all of a sudden he was just nipping off and
Flying to Canada.
playing Australia, Canada,
Yeah.
like it must have been such
Crazy.
a weird. Because there were three. It wasn't just me and Scott. It was me, Scott, and another kid called Paul. We were like the three amigos. We were just together, or we were just like inseparable. And then all of a sudden, I was just off.
Would they drive you like to the gigs in England and
Scott
that?
would, yeah. Like he was, yeah, like he'd work in the Vicious Circle office, and then like that was like his job for a while.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Mate, I'm not sure how much time you've got.
We've got another 10 minutes at least.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, just maybe tell us a bit about the like the touring and how that all like kind of come to its peak, and then whatever happened at the end.
Yeah, I mean the touring was like, I mean, I guess compared to some DJs, I never did anywhere near as much as some. Because the sound, like I guess when like when Tall Paul was chatting to you, like the gigs that I would play, I only ever played America. Well, I did two gigs, but like one trip, because my sound was never like big in America. It wasn't like
That's weird, eh?
Yeah.
Considering it was huge here,
Yeah.
huge it was still huge in the UK, still huge here, isn't it?
Well, he's getting big again. Yeah. I mean, yeah. But yeah, I did Canada a few times, Japan a few times. Australia has always been the, like the sort of home away from home. South Africa I did quite a few times. Did Moscow once.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty nuts. Yeah. Finland, I did that a few times. Used to go over to Ireland quite a lot.
Yeah.
But it's not really international. I'm trying to think where else. But like, like a lot of techno DJs, I'll do South America.
Yeah.
Like I've just never been.
Yeah.
Like it's not somewhere I.
But in the UK alone, you could spend every weekend going up and down the countryside if you were desperate to do gigs. I'm sure.
Yeah. So I mean, there was times where I do 5 or 6 gigs a week.
Yeah.
Or maybe more if I was doing midweek. Sometimes you might get a Tuesday night, like a student night, and then a Thursday, and then you do 2 on the Friday, 3 on the Saturday. I was like that for years, yeah. God. So I might leave home at 8 o'clock, drive up to Newcastle, get to Newcastle for 10:30, play 11 till 12, jump in the car, and then from Newcastle, have a 3 or 4 hour drive down to Birmingham, play Birmingham at 2 o'clock in the morning, finish that at 3, then down to London, do the last set down in London.
It's nuts. Eh? What a life! Like it's crazy to think that that's even a job. Like that's one of the things I try and get across with this podcast is like even say just before you, that wasn't even a career to be doing that. You know, like travel. You think back and think, God, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
And
that's why
it's not like there was anyone telling you how to do it. Like you must be disciplined, because you could have just gone mad, partying and girls and all that. Like you could have just gone absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I guess. Damn it.
Yeah, your only regret. No, but do you know what I mean? Like most young kids at that age would have just went mental.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know. I don't know why I never really succumb to that. I think because of that kind of lesson that I'd learned, because I'd like, how can I put it? If you were a DJ that had been into it since you were like a kid, and you'd come through and you'd learned to DJ, and that's what you'd always wanted to do, and you'd kind of miss the partying because you were focused on becoming a DJ, and then you got your big break and became a DJ, and then you were exposed to all that, and then you could fall foul to it. Whereas I'd gone through all that, and I kind of got it out of my system, and I'm like, no, I'm done with that now. So I guess that's because I've got periods in my 19, 20 where there's kind of weeks that I can't even remember. Like so I definitely got it.
You had a good crack.
I definitely got it out of my system. Yeah. But I think I was just always focused on, like I did have to be, back because I knew I'd got a studio session on the
Yeah.
Tuesday, or I'd got, you
So
know,
yeah, you couldn't
accounting to do for,
the label.
the label
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the,
Responsibilities. Yeah.
responsibilities. Yeah. And the thing is as well, like I said about Tidy, you got Tidy that was this like super professional outfit that I wanted to be, you know, even though I didn't want to be like them, I wanted to be as good as them.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted to be, I didn't want to be, because there was a lot of labels like, I don't say this to discredit anybody or talk shit about anybody, but, like that put out amazing music, Cacti, for example, but they were just a label, like they were never they weren't a brand.
Mm.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone with a Cacti t-shirt on. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like they
yeah,
would have
yeah.
never did a t-shirt. That's why,
Yep.
but which is fine. That's all they wanted to do. I'm not saying they couldn't have been a brand if they wanted to be. I'm sure they could.
But
But it's
you
like,
wanted to do more.
yeah, I wanted to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
more than. So that's why we did the events, and that's why we did the merchandise, and like we did this stuff so that when we were out there and people had the, like I had a guy when I played in Brisbane a few weeks ago. He had his Vicious Circle t-shirt, and it looked like it was brand new. Like he'd still got it
We've
from.
been looking after it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of having that, a bit more of a like a like a legacy sort of
Yeah.
thing. And the nice thing is the things that I've done throughout my life. So the Vicious Circle is still going. I set up the gyms when I had the gyms. I set those up. They're still going, even though I'm nothing to do with them now. But it's still, like the brand that I sort of
What are they
established.
called?
Prime Mover.
Prime Mover.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. My sister still works for it. Yeah.
Is that just weights or is it like kind of functional?
No, it's like group personal training. So like, yeah, it's like not circuits, but yeah, it was like a fairly unique concept when I started doing it. I used to have personal training clients, and with those clients, I'd do dumbbells, barbells, kettlebells, TRX, battle ropes, all that kind of
It's
stuff.
TRX.
So, those straps that yellow
Oh
and black
yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
yeah.
yep.
And then I started running a boot camp, and the boot camp was just body weight stuff, So we're doing press ups and squats and lunges, and I'd have like 30, 35 people in a boot camp. And then I thought, what if I did smaller classes but more regular? Because I could only do I used to do a boot camp. I'd do it 3 times a week, which is hire this church hall and get 30, 35 people together in a big room and do that. But if you miss that session, you had to, wait a couple of days to do the next one. So
Yeah.
like if I gave people more option of sessions, but did smaller groups, then I could get more equipment and kind of utilize the stuff I'm doing in my personal training sessions. I could start doing with these clients. And once you introduce some equipment, you can start doing, because it's really difficult to do glute exercises in a body weight setting.
Yeah.
Other than laying on your back and doing like a hip bridge, that's about as all you can do. Back exercise is really difficult to do because you can do press ups for your chest, but what do you do for your back? Like it's pretty difficult.
Yeah.
So then I thought, well, if you've got TRXs, you can do TRX rows, and like all of a sudden I can start giving people much more of a workout. So then we started doing that, and then instead of doing like everyone's doing squats in a boot camp, it's like these 6 people are doing squats, but now you can load your squats up because you can grab a kettlebell or you can grab a dumbbell or whatever.
Kind of like Fit Stop or F45 sort of.
Yeah, it was very much like F45, but
Yep.
I was doing that before F45, and then I went to an F45 session here, and I was devastated because I'm like, this is fucking dog shit compared to what we used to do, and people used to moan that we were expensive, and this F45 is fucking twice as expensive. Yeah, so
So you're still DJing whilst you were doing all the
for
gym
7
stuff?
years. Yeah, so basically what happened is it looked like the DJing, I got moved, Tidy Management got sold to a big company in London, Most Wanted. And we thought it was going to be amazing. All these international contacts they've got, we're going to be doing these tours. We're going to be going everywhere. And it wasn't like that at all. They were putting gigs in the diary that didn't exist, to make us like, oh yeah, you've got this gig coming up. And then we get, oh, it's cancelled. On the Thursday, you'd get a call, it's cancelled.
Oh, shit.
And back then, the internet wasn't like it is now. You couldn't
like Google it.
No,
Yeah.
like you just had to rely that it was happening, like whereas now you just jump on and go, what the fucking hell's the flyer? Like this gig's not, you couldn't really do that then. This was like early 2000s. So we yeah, things looked like they were on the way out. And that's when I'd lost a load of weight, got into training, decided I wanted to be a personal trainer, did my qualification, and I was ready for sort of thinking, okay, I've had a good run, I've been around the world, record label went
Happy
well, but
days.
I'll
Yeah,
just
yeah.
walk, I'll get into personal training and that'll be it. And then I got my qualification, and literally within a couple of weeks of that happening, I inspired my girlfriend at the time to start her own management company, Red Management. She started that. I told Most Wanted to get fucked. Started with her, Andy Farley, told Most Wanted to get fucked. Paul Maddox, Ben Stevens, Rob Tessera. Everyone told Most Wanted to get fucked. Started with, so literally within 2 weeks, Kate had the fucking
The
cream of the
greatest
crop,
hard house
hard house
lineup.
lineup
Yeah, yeah.
that you could
Wow.
imagine. And then gigs really started coming in. So I'm building up my client list. I'm doing 25, 30 PT sessions a week in this
And
studio that I
gigging.
used to, and then my gigs started taking off as well. So I had
Shit.
7 years where I was just up at 5:30 on a Monday morning, doing 30, 35 sessions a week. I'd finish my last session on Friday at 8 o'clock, eat, get in the car, drive to a gig, do a gig on a Friday, two on a Saturday, back 5:30 Monday,
Far out.
back at,
What age were you when you were doing that?
that would have been sort of 27 to 34. And then when I was 34, that's when wasn't with Kate anymore. I was with Kelly by then. And and then Kelly was having Nevaeh, my eldest. So she was doing she was born in the June. And on the 26th of February that year, so 2012, is when I did my 10-hour set to sort of say, this is it. I'm not doing any UK gigs anymore. I never
Yeah.
said I was retiring. I just said I was not doing UK gigs because I thought if I still get offered to go to Australia,
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to
Come
do
to a
it.
System 6 or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I said I'm never doing a UK gig again. So I did 10 hours at Storm, just me all night. And then 18 months later went back and did another 3 hour set. So I'm like Frank Sinatra, but it's a bit of a running joke now. When E&M retired
Yeah.
the other day and they were like, oh, but will he be back? I'm like, Ian's
Your
an honest
first
guy.
retirement. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a fucking liar. I just keep coming back. Mm.
So, like, how did you end up over here?
So when Nevaeh was born, and then when she was 7 months old, we moved to New Zealand because her mom's a Kiwi.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So we moved to New Zealand. We were there for about 18 months. And then we had another little girl while we were there. And then the mum, she was struggling real bad after she had the second one. So her twin sister lived here. So I said, look, I'm thousands of miles away from home anyway. Let's just make things easier. Like, because
Yeah.
her sister had just had a baby as well. So I said, let's move to near your sister. At least you can have a bit more social interaction and the kids will all be together. So we flew here and then that was it.
So that's like Gold Coast,
Yeah.
straight to the Gold Coast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Had you? Oh, you'd obviously been here before on tours and that.
Yeah, yeah, I'd been here once before. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that tour I was talking about when we did the Adelaide gig and stuff, we flew up here because it was the middle of winter. So we were in Melbourne, but the weather was shit. So we just booked some flights and came up here and had 4 days up here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but I can't remember much about it. I was real bad jet lag then.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'd been here once before. But to me, Australia was Australia. I didn't sort of, and a lot of the friends I had at the time, when I said I'm moving to Australia, they were like, "Oh, are you coming to Melbourne? Are you coming to Perth? Are you coming to
Sydney. Yeah,
Sydney?" And I'm like, "No, we go." And they were like, "Gold Coast? What are you going there for?" And then, as luck, not as luck as kind of chance would have it, years later, I ended up being a real estate agent, and now everybody wants to come here.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Oh, it's expensive place to live down here. Nothing's cheap.
no, nothing's cheap anywhere, though.
Yeah, yeah, no, true. I think Australia is like one of the most expensive countries in the world now, isn't it? For
Probably.
property.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's people like me to blame.
Yeah, yeah, you're just like pimping them out. Oh, mate, I reckon we should do a part two.
Yeah.
We just didn't get enough time. I really want to go through the like the early gigs and the music that inspired you and all that. And
Yeah.
so we'll have to do a part two. But
Sure.
man, thanks heaps for jumping on and having a chat. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
Before we go, I noticed you're doing like a few gigs.
Mhm.
Like here, you're starting to line up some more gigs. You're making a comeback.
Well, it's just a bit of a comeback. Yeah. Yeah. I've got about 8 or 9 tracks that are set to be released now.
Because the label's still going, hey?
Label's still going, and I've kind of like muscled my way back in. I said to Ben Stevens, I said, mate, after all these years, he's like, no, you're welcome. So, I think next year
he's not going to argue with you.
I think next year we're going to do. It's not official, but my plan is every 10th release. So, Vicious Circle 380's just come out. 390's my track. 400's my track. 400's going to be the 2025 remix of Kick It, which will come out 25 years to the week since the first one came out, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I've already got 410 and 420 done. So what I want to try and do is that every 10th release is going to be yours from me.
Yep.
And then I think every kind of one in between that, so like 405, 415 are going to be other people remixing my old track. So we've got PH4, Dave the drummer's done that.
Oh, cool.
Tick from Disturbed from New Zealand does that real heavy stuff. He's doing Beautiful, which will be interesting. So yeah, there's a few things coming out. But I said to like Ben Stevens, I had a FaceTime chat with him last week, and because we're just putting a new album together, so I've got a 4-disc album coming out in the next few weeks. And I was telling him about it. I said, I've just done a new track. And he's like, fucking hell. He said, you've been away for 12, 13 years. And now you're going to be like the most prolific. He said, you're putting more stuff out than anyone I know. You know, like, so.
That's cool.
Well, it's nice. But the nice thing is it's all good stuff. I mean, obviously I'm going to say that. But, you know, I know I've done some turkeys in the past. Like, not everything's great. But some of the stuff I've got.
Some turkeys.
Some of the stuff that I've got coming out is that Big Fish that came out is it's just a good track. You know, a Bigger and Better comes out. Another, like every time I play that goes off. I've got Super Bad, which is coming out on Tidy. Because I got all nostalgic when the Tidy Boys came on. Because they, like I said, you look back 20 odd years later and you're like, you know, those guys really did help, you know, not just me, like lots of people come along. And then I did the track and I was just listening to it. I thought it could sit on Vicious Circle easily. But out of everything I've done since this comeback, that's the one that would probably sit on Tidy. So I rang Ammo and I sent it to him and he's like, yep, we'll have that. So I've got stuff coming out on Tidy now as well, which is good. And so, yeah.
Any getting released on vinyl?
I think the Tidy one apparently is, it's not official yet, but Ben Stevens said he thinks that will be, yeah. So,
I mean, you'd know more than me, but like, I'm sure that the vinyl sales are picking up.
Oh, they must be, yeah, but
because it's just like,
but never to the level that they would have.
No, but it'd be enough to press a few up, surely.
I think that's the, yeah.
So,
yeah,
bloody good stuff, mate. We finally got it done.
Yeah.
Thanks for jumping on. And
well, if you're in Brisbane in November 22nd, me and Ben Stevens are doing Lucifer's gig in Brisbane.
Where's that?
I'll find out. It's Brisbane, I know that.
Somewhere in Brisbane.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And, like Fortitude Valley, I think.
Oh, we'll have to lock in another interview. You just come up during the day?
Yeah, but I can come up earlier if you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
So
awesome.
Awesome, mate.